That night changed everything. I thought he'd yell, cry, or at least argue back, but he didn't. When I said, "Stop pretending we like each other, you're just my roommate," he just looked at me, calm, unreadable. Then he stood up, walked to the door, and said quietly, "You'll get what you've been pretending for, a life without me." And when that door closed behind him, I had no idea it would be forever. It started long before that night. At first, everything between us was normal, warm, even beautiful. He was gentle, steady, and patient. But over time, something inside me changed. I began to see his kindness as boring, his stability as routine. While he'd spend his evenings fixing things around the house or making dinner, I'd scroll through my phone, seeing other couples traveling, laughing, living wild lives. And slowly I started comparing. I began to feel trapped, not by him, but by my own expectations of what happy should look like. I stopped appreciating the small things. I stopped saying thank you. I started believing I deserved something more. The tension grew quietly between us, like a slow leak in a balloon. He'd ask, "Are you okay?" I'd reply, "I'm fine," even though we both knew I wasn't. We'd sit on the same couch, eat at the same table, sleep in the same bed, but emotionally, we were miles apart. One night, after a long silence over dinner, he finally said, "It feels like we're strangers in our own home." I snapped. "Stop pretending we like each other," I said, my voice shaking with frustration. I didn't even understand. "You're just my roommate." I expected him to fight back, to argue, to say something cruel. But instead, he just looked at me for a moment, almost sad. Then he said, "All right, if that's how you see me, I'll stop pretending too." He went upstairs, packed a small bag, and within an hour, he was gone. No shouting, no slammed doors, just quiet. Too quiet. The next morning, I walked into the kitchen expecting to see his coffee mug, but it wasn't there. His shoes were gone from the hallway, his side of the bed, cold. I checked my phone, expecting at least one message from him, but there was nothing. That's when it started to sink in. I had pushed him too far. Days turned into weeks. I tried to tell myself I was free now, that I could do whatever I wanted, but freedom didn't feel like I imagined. It felt hollow. I'd make dinner and forget to eat. I'd scroll through my phone, realizing I didn't have anyone to share anything with. The silence of the house became unbearable. A few weeks later, I heard from a mutual friend that he'd found a small apartment near his office. "He looks good," she said. Peaceful, actually. That word peaceful hit me like a knife because I wasn't peaceful. I was restless, anxious, regretful. One afternoon, I went by his old workshop, the one behind our house that he used to spend hours in. I found a small wooden box on the shelf, something I'd never noticed before. Inside were letters, dozens of them, all written to me, letters he never sent. He wrote about how much he missed us, how he wished he knew how to make me happy again, how he hoped one day I'd see that love wasn't about excitement. It was about loyalty. I sat there on the cold floor, tears falling on those pages, realizing he'd been fighting for us silently, while I'd been the one giving up out loud. I tried calling him after that. No answer. I sent a long message, not angry, not begging, just apologizing. I told him I didn't mean it, that I was lost, that I took him for granted. But he didn't reply. A month later, I ran into him at the grocery store. He looked different, calmer, stronger. There was no bitterness in his eyes, just distance. He smiled politely, said hello, and kept walking. Then I noticed a woman waiting for him outside. She was holding a bag of groceries, and his hand. He had moved on. I wanted to be angry, but I couldn't, because he deserved peace. Peace I had stolen from him. That night, I went home, sat on the floor with his old letters, and whispered, "I'm sorry. Sorry for mistaking his love for dullness. Sorry for thinking comfort was weakness. Sorry for realizing too late that I didn't need excitement. I needed him." If I could go back, I'd never say those words. I'd never call him my roommate. I'd remind myself that love isn't always fireworks. Sometimes it's just quiet mornings, shared laughter, and someone who stays when things aren't perfect. But I learned it too late. And now every time I walk into that empty house, I hear his last words echoing, "You'll get what you've been pretending for. A life without me." And I did. If you liked the video, please subscribe and turn on notifications.